There is something strangely timeless about Strung Along that makes it resonate far beyond its era. Each time I revisit it, I am struck by how expertly it blends psychological tension with the kind of dark humor Tales from the Crypt is known for, creating a story that is both eerie and profoundly human. The narrative revolves around a puppeteer whose career is in decline, and every frame seems infused with a sense of fading artistry, as if the episode itself is an aging stage performance clinging to its final curtain call. The opening scene immediately sets the tone by immersing us in the intimate loneliness of creation. The protagonist rehearses with his puppets under the dim glow of studio lamps, speaking to them with a mixture of affection and desperation. It is a moment that resonates with anyone who has ever poured their identity into their craft, only to watch recognition slip away. His wife's entrance disrupts this fragile world with the energy of someone whose life is still in motion. Her restlessness contrasts sharply with her husband's stagnation. I once knew a couple whose dynamic mirrored this tension, where one partner's career thrived while the other struggled with unrealized ambitions. The emotional imbalance created an invisible rift, much like the one in this episode, where affection turns into obligation and communication becomes a careful dance around unspoken disappointment. As the plot develops, the episode begins playing with the idea of performance in both literal and metaphorical ways. The puppeteer clings to the precision of his craft, because it is the only place where he maintains unquestioned control. Meanwhile, his wife performs loyalty the way an actress performs a role she no longer loves, but cannot quite abandon. The young apprentice enters the story like a catalyst for all that has been festering under the surface. His charm, ambition, and youth create a mirror in which the older man sees everything he has lost. The dynamic between them oscillates between mentorship and rivalry, each moment carrying an undertone of envy that grows sharper with each scene. I have seen similar tensions unfold in creative industries where age and ambition collide. A mentor begins as a guide, but gradually becomes threatened by the very talent they nurtured. In the episode, this tension manifests not through overt confrontation, but through subtle shifts in tone, glances held too long, and comments weighted with insecurity. One of the most compelling elements of Strung Along is its ability to portray the domestic space as a silent battlefield. The couple's home becomes a stage where every conversation is a performance, each line of dialogue layered with hidden meaning. The director uses cramped hallways, cluttered rooms, and dim corners to visually reinforce the emotional suffocation unfolding within. The twist, when it comes, is both shocking and ironically fitting. Tales from the Crypt has always excelled at delivering endings that blend horror with poetic justice, and this episode is no exception. The revelation does not simply serve as a scare, but as a commentary on the consequences of manipulation, mistrust, and unchecked insecurity. What makes the twist memorable is how it reframes the entire story in retrospect. The puppeteer's descent into paranoia and his final act of brutality feel like an extension of his lifelong need for control. The younger lovers, though manipulative in their own right, are portrayed not as monstrous, but as flawed individuals entangled in desires they cannot fully manage. After watching the finale again recently, I found myself reflecting on the strange ways people try to assert control when they feel powerless. It reminded me of someone I once worked with who micromanaged every detail of a project, not because they distrusted others, but because they feared failing after years of being considered exceptional. That fear, so potent and corrosive, can turn ordinary insecurity into destructive action. Ultimately, Strung Along works because it taps into something universal. Everyone has felt overlooked, replaced, or sidelined at some point in their life. Everyone has feared becoming irrelevant or unloved. The horror of the episode is grounded not in supernatural elements, but in the emotional truths hiding beneath the theatrics. The final image lingers long after the screen fades, a grim reminder that obsession turns people into versions of themselves they never intended to become. The story becomes a macabre fable about the dangers of clinging too tightly to the past and mistaking control for connection. In its twisted way, the episode highlights how every relationship contains invisible strings, and how easily those strings can strangle when pulled too hard.